Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic today is the U.S. colored troops and the Battle of Nashville. And of course we have with us to talk about the U.S. colored troops and the Battle of Nashville, Leo Kwame Lillard. And of course, Brother Lillard, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Glad to be here, Dr. Haney.
I hesitated in terms of trying to identify you because there are so many names that we could use in terms of the kinds of situations that you've been involved in and your leadership and et cetera, that it's difficult to simply come up with one word to say that you are this, because you might be this at one moment and next time you're doing something entirely different. Let's give our audience an opportunity this first segment to find out more about some of the things that we're talking about now, about your involvement with whatever, by having you to talk about your background, your education, and some of the things that eventually led you to come here as a representative dealing with the U.S. colored troops and the Battle of Nashville.
Well, you know, I'm a Nashville boy. I went to Carter Lawrence Elementary School and Pearl High, and I got a degree in engineering at A&I in those days in 1961. And of course, because of my involvement in the civil rights struggle, I felt when I finished my degree in '61, and we had basically had victories in the sit-ins, the lunch counters, the sit-ins, the stand-ins. We integrated the movie theaters, integrated the swimming pools, and then of course the Freedom Ride. And I kind of felt it was time to outgrow Nashville. I got my degree from Tennessee State, and I wanted to see a bigger world, so I left here. Kind of chased out a little bit, encouraged to leave by the Klan. So I went to New York City and pursued other educational and primarily universal topics of struggle, injustice, oppression, and kind of broadened my view out about how we fitted in the whole scheme of things as African Americans on a global context. So I got kind of baptized into the radical Pan-African movement in Harlem by Malcolm X and James Baldwin and that whole 1960s intellectual international paradigm of struggle. And when I finished my degrees and had my children in New York City, I decided to come back home in '76. And when I came back home, of course, I was bristling with ideas and just running over with enthusiasm to continue the liberation struggle as opposed to the civil rights struggle. Now that might be very clear.
Good.
I'm way past civil rights, okay? I'm into liberation of human beings on the globe. There's a big difference in those concepts. So when I came back in '76, I needed to do something. I needed to use some of these skills at home, all this education, these 3 master's degrees I had. It's a lot of education. So I wanted to use it. So I began to search for a crucible, a vehicle in which to utilize some of these skills to continue the struggle here in Nashville. And I was a Capitol Hill Baptist Church a member, so we started Young Adult Fellowship, and we went to TPS and adopted children, and then we dealt with the bust of Forrest that was being unveiled in November of '78, and the church had a protest downtown at the Capitol, and the rest is history. I just simply moved from there to finding organizations and finding coalitions that really wanted to create a different kind of awareness model for struggle, because it was clear our children and our adults had very little consciousness in the city. They were very satisfied with living in Hendersonville or Antioch, and they were not looking at the oppression that was occurring on our children, particularly in the public schools, where they were not teaching black history. We forced the court, through Wiseman, through a coalition of parents, black and white, to look at opening up the curriculum so all children could learn the correct history, not white history, not black history, but the correct history. So that's what I did in '79, '79, '80, '81. And then I realized, you know, that there still was something missing in this. We still hadn't opened up the issue of cultural identity. So we started the African American Cultural Alliance, and we're into our 24th year of having the only African festival on a black college campus in the entire United States.
Now this is the famous African Street
Yes,
Festival.
24 years.
Every September at Tennessee State
That's right.
University.
It is the only one of its nature in the country.
And this is your 24th year in
Coming up in
reference
September.
to
That's right. And we've outlasted Dr. Haney. Black Expo, Summer Lights, Italian Street Festival. Now here Dancing in the District is no longer. So we have outlasted all of those major events on no money, no funding, no grants, and no government interference. So that speaks well of the folks who run this little tiny operation we have. But it speaks more of a city that supports what we do and how we do it. Because our formula is very simple. Give the people a major, true ethnic event that is free on a public university campus. That's a pretty simple formula. It's a tall order, though, because nobody's done it.
Okay, but you've been quite successful at it, and I can certainly attest to that.
Lots of support from Nashville, black, white, everybody.
Very good. And, of course, let us make preparations for this first commercial break, Brother Lillard.
Okay.
And then we'll be back and talk about some of the aspects. And, of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. The topic is the